My name is Vroon, Senior Intelligence Analyst for the Galactic Conclave, and I want it on record, officially for all civilizations across 14 star systems, that I told them so. I told them. Nobody listened, of course. Because when has anyone in this galaxy ever listened to the analyst who spends his evenings reading enemy behavioral reports instead of attending plasma ball tournaments? Never. The answer is never. But let me take you back. Back to the day Earth sent its warning, because this is a story worth telling. It started on a Tuesday. Earth has this thing called Tuesday, which as far as anyone can tell, serves no significant cosmic purpose, yet humans treat it with the same mild disappointment every single cycle. Strange creatures. But I am getting ahead of myself. The Galactic Conclave, in its infinite wisdom, had approved the Rethak Empire's third aggressive incursion into human-controlled space. Third. Let that number sit with you for a moment. The first two had not gone well. The first time humanity disabled an entire Rethak warfleet using something called electromagnetic pulse weapons and a series of what the humans casually referred to as backup plans. The second time, they did something even more alarming. They negotiated, smiled, shook hands. And then 6 months later, every single Rethak commander involved in the incursion mysteriously found themselves transferred to the most remote resource-depleted outpost in the known galaxy. No violence, no formal declaration, just consequences. Quiet, deliberate, infuriating consequences. The Conclave laughed it off. "Primitive planet," said High Chancellor Duvok, adjusting his ceremonial robes, which cost more than the GDP of 4 developing worlds. They lack the fleet capacity for genuine retaliation. The Rethak forces will neutralize their border stations in 2 rotations maximum. I raised my hand. Duvok looked at me the way one looks at a piece of debris stuck to the underside of a ceremonial boot. "Yes, Vroon, sir," I said carefully. "I have 17 reports, cross-referenced from 6 independent intelligence networks, suggesting that Earth's military does not respond proportionally." Silence. "Meaning," I continued, sweating slightly under my collar, "they do not match force with force. They respond with significantly more force than whatever was used against them. And they plan, extensively. And they are patient. Extraordinarily patient." Duvok blinked. 17 reports. "Yes, sir. From 6 networks." "Correct." He nodded slowly. Then he closed the report file and said, "Approve the Rethak incursion. We move forward at dawn cycle." I sat down. I made a note in my personal log. The note simply read, "I tried." The Rethak fleet, 400 warships strong, crossed into human-claimed space on what humans called a Thursday. Another day with mysterious significance. The fleet commander was a general named Brakthos, decorated veteran of 11 campaigns, conqueror of 3 planetary systems. Brakthos was the kind of military mind who genuinely believed that overwhelming force was the solution to every problem, including, apparently, problems that had already specifically and repeatedly punished overwhelming force. The humans saw them coming. Of course they did. Earth's detection grid, which the Conclave had confidently labeled rudimentary in 4 separate assessment reports, apparently extended 3 times further than our analysts believed. I had noted this discrepancy in report number 11, just for anyone keeping track. The response from Earth was not an attack. It was not a defensive formation. It was not even a strongly worded diplomatic message. It was a single transmission, broadcast on every known communication frequency across the entire sector. The message was short. 12 words. Translated from English, the primary human language. "You have entered our space. Leave now. This is your only warning." Brakthos laughed. His entire bridge crew laughed. Someone on the Rethak flagship apparently made a commemorative recording of the moment, which later became extremely ill-advised. "Primitive bluster," Brakthos announced. "Advance formation. Begin targeting sequence for their border station Alpha." The humans waited exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. I know this because the timestamp was in the transmission data, and yes, I have analyzed this particular sequence more times than is professionally healthy. Then the humans responded again, not with words this time. The Rethak Advance Squadron, 40 ships, the pride of the Empire's forward assault wing, simply stopped transmitting. No explosion, no distress signal, no dramatic final moments. They were there, and then the sensors showed them drifting. Completely dark, every system offline. All 40 ships, simultaneously, in the span of 11 seconds. Brakthos stared at his display. The bridge went very quiet. Weapons fire, he asked. His tactical officer, a veteran named Plak, responded in a voice that had clearly lost several layers of its earlier confidence. Sir, we are detecting no weapons discharge, no projectiles, no energy beams, no munitions of any identifiable type. They just stopped. The silence on that bridge must have been magnificent. Then the third human transmission arrived. That was a demonstration. The next 40 ships will not drift. They will burn. You have 90 seconds. Brakthos, to his credit, or perhaps to his eternal embarrassment, did not immediately retreat. He spent approximately 60 of those 90 seconds doing what commanders do when their understanding of the universe has just been shattered into extremely small pieces. He stared, he breathed. He looked at Plak. Plak looked back with the expression of someone who had absolutely no desire to find out what happened at the 90-second mark. Sir, Plak said quietly, I recommend we consider the withdrawal option. There is no withdrawal option, Brakthos said. The Conclave approved full engagement. With respect, Plak replied, and I genuinely admire this officer's career survival instincts. The Conclave is not currently in this sector of space. The 90 seconds passed. I want to be very clear about something. When the 90 seconds expired, I was sitting in my office on Conclave Station 7, drinking a cup of something warm that passed for tea in this part of the galaxy, reviewing my own reports for the 14th time, wondering if perhaps I had miscalculated something. If perhaps humanity was not quite as methodical and terrifyingly deliberate as my data suggested. I had not miscalculated. The next 40 Rethak warships did not drift. They burned. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic explosion designed for visual impact. No, the humans were far too precise for theatrics. Ship by ship, in exactly the order they appeared on the Rethak formation grid, they ignited. One every 8 seconds. Clean, calculated, absolutely intentional, like someone crossing items off a list, because that is exactly what was happening. Someone on the human side was crossing items off a list. Brakthos, by the accounts of every surviving crew member who later gave testimony to the Conclave, did not speak for the entire duration. He simply watched his tactical display as 80 of his 400 ships became either drifting wreckage or actual fire, and he said nothing. His hands were flat on the console. His eyes were fixed forward. Plak reported that the general's expression at that moment looked less like a decorated conqueror of 3 planetary systems, and more like a creature who had just realized, with total clarity, that it had wandered into the wrong predator's territory. The 4th human transmission came exactly when the 40th burning ship went dark. You have 320 ships remaining. We have counted them. Leave now, or we will count down from 320. We are very good at math. Plak did not wait for Brakthos this time. Initiating withdrawal, he said, and frankly history should remember Plak more generously than it does. The Rethak fleet retreated in what military analysts later diplomatically called an expedient tactical repositioning. 320 ships, moving at maximum drive capacity, back across the boundary line, back into neutral space, back to anywhere that was not wherever the humans were pointing their attention. And Earth did not pursue. Not a single ship crossed the boundary line. Not a single additional weapon was fired. The humans simply watched them go. And then in what I can only describe as the most psychologically devastating final move in this entire sequence of events, they sent one last transmission. To the entire sector, every ship, every station, every relay beacon within 40 light-years received this message simultaneously. Rethak forces have withdrawn. Incident logged. Reference number 774. We keep records. That is all. We keep records. I read that transmission in my office, and I put down my cup of warm tea, and I sat in silence for a considerable amount of time, because that phrase, those 3 words, understood in their full context, were not a comfort. They were not administrative procedure. They were a promise with the patience of a civilization that had been keeping records since before most of the species in this galaxy had discovered space travel. Humanity did not threaten. Humanity documented. And that was somehow so much worse. I submitted my full analysis to the Conclave within 6 hours. All 17 reports, plus a new one, Report 18, which I titled simply, What Just Happened and Why I Said So. I am not particularly subtle when I am right. High Chancellor Duvok called an emergency session. Every senior member of the Conclave attended. I have never seen that many powerful individuals look simultaneously uncomfortable in my entire career. They sat around the great circular table, in their expensive robes, with their ceremonial insignia and their accumulated centuries of political authority, and they read my reports. All of them, in complete, humbling silence. Duvok spoke first. Analyst Vroon, these 80 ships, the technology used, unknown, I said. Completely. Our sensors recorded no weapons signature consistent with any catalogued system in our database. Whatever the humans used on the advanced squadron, we have never seen it before, and whatever they used on the second group, we have not seen that before either. Those were 2 separate methods, deployed sequentially, as if to demonstrate range. The silence in the chamber became a different kind of silence. The kind that happens when intelligent beings simultaneously process an implication they would very much prefer not to be true. They showed us 2 different weapons, said Councillor Meth, from the Indali delegation, slowly, as though each word needed individual verification before release. In 90 seconds, I confirmed, and then stopped, because stopping was the point. Continuing was never the point. The point, I said, and I want the record to show I said this with complete composure, was demonstration. They wanted us to know they had more. They wanted us to wonder how much more. They wanted us to sit in exactly this room, having exactly this conversation, asking exactly these questions. Another silence. A longer one. It worked, said Plack's written testimony, which had been included in the session materials. I appreciated Plack. Plack was honest in a way that most survivors of catastrophic military miscalculations are not. The Conclave issued a formal resolution 3 days later, Resolution 7201, on the status of Earth and human-controlled space. It reclassified humanity from Category 3, which is labeled Developing Civilization, Limited Threat Potential, all the way to Category 1, which has no label because the Conclave had never needed that category before. It was created specifically for them. The resolution also included a formal non-aggression framework, which was sent to Earth through diplomatic channels. The human response came back in 48 hours. It was polite, measured, professionally warm, in the way that humans can be professionally warm, which always carries a faint undertone of "we remember everything you did, and we are choosing for now to smile about it." They signed. They agreed to the framework. They sent a small delegation to establish formal relations. The delegation arrived wearing civilian clothes, no visible weapons, pleasant expressions, and carrying gifts, local food items from their planet. A gesture of goodwill. Everyone in the Conclave reception hall smiled and accepted the gifts and made appropriate welcoming noises. I did not eat the food, not out of hostility, simply because I had read enough reports to know that anything humanity presents with a pleasant smile and open hands has been thought about considerably more than it appears. Duvok ate 3 pieces. He said they were excellent. I wrote Report 19. I titled it, On the Nature of Human Goodwill and Why It Should Be Taken Extremely Seriously. I suspect nobody will read it until they need to. They will need to. My name is Vroon, Senior Intelligence Analyst for the Galactic Conclave. Earth sent one warning to the galaxy, kept every word of it, and then shook our hands. Sleep well. Everyone. I certainly do not.